So, I mean, I think I've seen both of, I just kind of like revisiting both of your websites. And I mean, I saw this similarity, and I think in one of your previous meetings when you were talking, um, I think you were both mentioning two videos. One, I think Mo, yours was with your obsession with holes and how that kind of derived from mining
Yeah.
areas, right? And Olesja, for you was, I think, um, this re this like retelling of the story of this like cultural cultural institute that used to be um, um, quite not successful, but quite prominent at one point. And then when the USSR kind of came, it just kind of died out slowly and kind of fizzled out.
Yeah, yeah, it was,
So
yeah, sorry.
when you both looked at these videos of it, of you know, of when you looked at Mo's video, and Mo, when you looked at Alessa's video, like how did you, what did you think, and how did you feel like it could unfold as a common ground more specifically? You know, like did you imagine, for instance, that you could make also a video, or like how did you imagine like this collaboration, since you actually do have quite a lot of ground in common, I think.
I think we just, I'm not sure video, I mean, video is one of the medium we were thinking about it. The thing for me, like I haven't worked on video for a long time. Um, so I think also video is the more obvious choice. So we were thinking like what else we can do
Mm,
um, um, to kind of engage with this. Like, um, I don't know. I feel like can we do something different, like a research or like a fiction we're writing together or something like outside of the box,
mm,
not as a very obvious art form to make
mm,
it artwork around it.
mm. And did you like identify already like a few specific points where you would like start quite I mean, because they're both in a way, they're both like uh they're both big topics. It's like a good common ground, I think, but it's a very large topic.
Yeah,
And I think you
yeah.
need like a few entry points to kind of tap into it, no? Did you kind of identify that already, or you're not there yet?
We talk about it several different like possibilities. I think one of the things we were agreeing on is like kind of go back to the mineral itself. We
Mm,
did talk about that earlier, just kind of from there and go like from a small point, just talk about the mineral itself and kind of in general mineral, not like you know, our background is too different, like a flammable, uh, like almost like a rock, a
mm,
flammable rock. But this seems also kind of like a fossil. So that kind of like defaulting like a lot of history and changing inside of that. So we were kind of talk about starting just focus on the mineral itself and bring all this what are we trying to talk into the process.
mm, that's really cool. It's really interesting, I think. Hmm. So you would use the mineral as a starting point uh for a, for a story or something like that. I would almost imagine that this idea of like, I mean, I personally am super into this idea of like deep time, you know, this
Mm,
like looking at an object and kind of seeing so many different layers of time, and how different actually, like just reading into it and just kind of understanding how different all these stages that the earth has been through. um
yeah.
and it's just how fascinating it is that, you know, you have like this object and then we actually just extract it. We like break the ground to like to extract it literally, but they are just, even in terms of these materials, and I think you were talking about that as well in your conversation, how
do you think
yeah,
if we do a hybrid of oil shale, fossil, and coal itself?
what do you mean a hybrid? What is that?
I don't know. It's like brainstorming idea to
Hmm.
make a kind of visual hybrid of that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that would be interesting. How would that look actually? Do you have any images of that, like in your? Because it's really
It
actually I have no idea
came
how it
now.
looks.
Just
did
came
you
now.
ever see an oil shell?
Huh?
Did you ever saw an oil shell?
I have
It's
not actually.
really strange. It's like a
I
stone, but
could.
also extract oil out.
Oh yeah, I'm just
It's
Uh,
googling
very
it now and I'm
strange.
looking at it. Yeah,
I
that's so
will
interesting.
show you some pictures I found. I will share the screen with you. Just hold on.
Hmm.
Uh,
This is the first time I googled oil shell to see how it looks, and it's it's yeah, it's funny. I never really
yeah, I
looked at
will.
it.
I have some small presentation that um, maybe will give you a kind of a visual um, understanding of the area I'm talking about and the oil shale itself.
Hmm.
I mean, I had this new idea. It was coming out. We haven't talked about it, but we can talk about now. I just come in this idea yesterday when I was watching a documentary about this very specific jet. Mm, what you can see of them uh, from the jet itself. It's kind of interesting to see to hear they talk about. There is 5 different kind of jet. They're all the same type, but looks different. And you can through the structure and the shape can kind of put out like how they formed, what they've been through. I kind of
Hmm.
have this idea, it's like, how about we had this either hybrid a mineral or like this kind of, I think it's more like conceptualize the mineral itself. It's something like, mm, it's just called mineral. You can flammable. People used to use that, but almost like a archaeology way to see that. When this, just think about when this precious stone is put on the pedestal, when people to talk about and look at it, and you unfolding this whole history behind it. Oh, like almost like a tell you the history, like back to the time people used to use this to, as energy in making electricity and what it is in dealing with, what have been through to in kind of like that way to talk about.
Hmm. Yeah, that is really interesting. But can you tell me again, like, what was the name of the actual rock? You said that there are multiple rocks that they look differently, but they have. Can you tell me the name
Oh,
again of it?
it's Jed. It's Jed.
Jed? Like,
Yeah, this let me check. It's a specific Jed.
okay. I'm just curious to see how it looks like because it's really nice to have like actual visual references.
Uh,
Okay, yeah. Let me try to find it.
Ancient Estonians were warming up their houses by these stones,
Hmm.
and it was very very funny how to do the fire with the stones, as we know that it is only you can do the fire with woods only, and now you can do it with the stones, with the rocks.
So these are actually oil shells, like the
Yes,
the actual rocks, yeah. That's
Yeah.
so cool. I've never
Mm.
seen them burning like this.
Mm-hmm. And this is, you see, this shale oil. So
Mm-hmm.
from oil shale, they make shale oil, and from that they produce the energy and a different kind of products.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is here you can see some, uh, corals. So sea.
Yeah, those are really cool. These are corals, like
um,
ancient corals, or like.
yeah. Uh, they are like really ancient, and they were from, I don't know, I put here um, kind of notes for myself.
Mm,
From what time did they, yeah,
mm-hmm.
kind of, they formed during the Middle Cambrian, early and the late Jurassic period, something like that, by
Mm-hmm.
many organic, uh, many organic stuff and reminiscence.
Mm. It's also interesting to think like what comes to my mind is like, these animals, all these animals that have been like pressed, and they are they have been part of like these, you know what is it, we would technically be at our seventh extinction now if we actually do go extinct, us as humans, I mean. And actually these animals have been through so many, um yeah, through so many extinctions, and they got like fossilized like this, and it's just really, yeah, it's really interesting to, I guess, think about it also in relation to what we're going through right now, and how we're gonna deal with, with like climate change and stuff like that, and which is really important, I think. So it's interesting to have this like perspective. I don't know. It's also, I guess, you also have the more directions here, in the sense that, how do you want to take it? Like, if you want to take it more, do you want to look at it as like a social political thing where you actually study like this origin of oils and its connection to how we have been using it? Or if you want to use it as, if you want to look at it as an actual object that, has many different purposes, and we just found one of them to use it, and but it has kind of its own independent existence. I guess this is also something that maybe, I think, you know moving forward, probably you'd have to like define for the project, like how do you see it. But I guess it could be both as well, but it's, yeah, it's just, it has so much, yeah, behind it.
Or maybe we could produce our own kind of in time squeezed rock
Yeah.
of our times. Mm.
Mm.
What is to us brings that energy? For example, what kind of energy we use?
Hmm.
Mm.
Hmm. There was this artist that I was trying to find it. I'm really missing his name right now, and but I think he was making a project that sounds like conceptually similar. Definitely a German artist, and I will find him. But what he was doing was that he was basically um, taking uh, like technology, like, like tech objects like phones and computers, and he was like pressing them and
Smash it.
compressing them.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then he made them into actual rocks, and it kind of reversed the process, of like transforming
Hmm.
this like slick technological object that we've evolved, to create, and kind of transforming it into like a rock,
A
literally.
kind of solid thing that is
Do you
made
know who
out.
I'm Yeah. Do you know
I
what I'm
know
talking
this.
about?
I know this technique.
Ah.
It was used before also
Mm-hmm.
in ready-made objects when the big cars was pressed, you know,
Mm.
in a in an object. I don't
Uh-huh.
remember the names, but it's a well-known
Yeah.
technique or method,
Yeah.
artistic method
Yeah.
to make
It's
this
so
kind of yeah, suppressed,
compressing. Mm.
compressed rock or solid uh, thing.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, it's kind of the same. Yeah, it's like it's an interesting idea to kind of try and kind of, you know, expose that also at the same time, like everything that is like technological is actually natural and can return to the natural, you know, in a sense. So I think it also kind of highlights that idea as well.
Just just to continue thinking, it could be also in not in a let's say physical way. We could compress something. It could be also, but maybe it could be like digitally compressed to show the image compressed and kind of different image being compressed into one um, into something maybe abstract
Yeah,
and
I think it would could be nice to kind of like build the connection between the virtual form and
yeah,
actual form, like the the internet like mining culture and also what is actually happening. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
you just watching at this cryptocurrency mining firma or kind they have their like special term, but
Mm.
these cryptocurrency mining stations
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that is built beside or near this really mining like natural mining station,
Mm-hmm.
original,
Mm-hmm.
ancient.
That's so interesting.
Mm,
So one is functioning and one is kind of defunct, right? One is
yeah,
like not
it's
functioning
like
anymore.
it is like a parasite on the reminiscent of the natural resources mining.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's so interesting. Hmm. Um, I see. So so you're basically going forward with the idea of like of creating a connection between like mining and um yeah, and like digital sorry and like digital mining, like that's your digital mining, am I saying correctly? But yeah, that's kind of your direction technically, right?
We're like in the middle of discussion. Mm. But I think it's interesting how this, let's say, mining meaning and mining itself mutated or
Mm,
changes changes its um, visual and the meaning, and in the end, it is the cryptocurrency, a money, digital money,
mm-hmm,
which is our nowadays new uh, new reality.
mm-hmm,
But they
mm-hmm,
won't go anywhere, and I think China is the biggest producer, or yeah, the biggest producer of cryptocurrency, and this
is it? I don't know, I have no idea if it is.
yeah,
Is it actually?
USA and China.
Mm-hmm. um Yeah, and are you thinking about like putting this, like what is the kind of, I guess, like how would you imagine researching it, or kind of like the tone of the work? Like what is your, you know, what is at stake for you to show if you would go in this direction?
I
Just
like,
kind of.
yeah, the idea of compressing, our era, our period of what we are facing of, and making of this digital rock,
Mhm.
kind of.
Mm.
So it will be, linked to the structure of the original rock, but it will be like digital. So in this image, we could see the different kind of images of our. Uh,
But what
of,
do you mean when you say original rock?
I mean the rock itself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
this one, you see
Ah,
it, layer it,
I see, I see.
but it could be like in the digital way. We could like compress in the computer programs, kind of uh, mm, visuals, like um, mm, pictures. We could
Mm-hmm.
compress them. I don't know in which way. It's just like
Mm,
some ideas of how could
mm,
it be, and about NFT, something that you
mm-hmm.
could actually then put into this image, put into the kind of platform called NFT. NFT is a kind of, you can sell it by the cryptocurrency. Have you heard this, Mo?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
so we can use it our NFT cryptocurrency and sell it. So it will be a kind of our production. So we could be in a way of this new era of miners, visual artist miners,
Mm,
compressing, this our like nowadays world reminiscence of pictures that is linked to that, compressed into some picture that maybe could be moving. Then we could make it an NFT and put into the
and that's it, and you're rich.
yes.
Yeah. You just move to, I don't know, Hawaii, and that's it.
I think that will be cool idea.
Yeah, that would be interesting. How would you choose like what images would go in there?
This is should be based on our research. We need to select some of them. What could be representing our nowadays, and so on. Nowadays in
Mm,
Estonia, nowadays in China, some political issues that could, you know,
mm,
mm, in, impact, influence. I don't know.
Well, I think it should be kind of in the way. I kind of like the idea, but also I think it would be interesting, like a digital version of like a transforming slowly
Yeah,
from
yeah. Mm-hmm.
transforming from a actual rock to this minor rock, or like transfer from this minor rock to the actual rock form. I
Yeah,
think that's better. Transfer from this digital rock slowly go to actual rock form,
yeah.
and similar with this process, natural process would be go layer by layer. We could still the like I think about the visual is just an image slowly transferring, and there's a lot of um, kind of talk part, content part on the background will be talk about unfolding every single thing, like with timeline and going back and everything related with this image or this rock. we tell the what is going on, like growing layer by layer and going back to that form.
And then this picture will be compressed and could be a part of this whole like digital image of the rock. And it could be, you know, we could make a kind of new new rock, named by Mo and Olesja. We could produce this new um, kind of a coal shale, or like oil coal. I don't know, kind of new natural resource that we are found and we collected throughout the times, and by this visual pictures that is now our data. And data mining is also very important for now, because you know it's a lot of data, and it's basically now in visuals. So I think yes, the pictures are important here, that could represent some points of our lives here, some points of our history, country history, lives, somebody's life stories, taken from some articles we could found on the internet based on or connected to the mining stuff.
Do you know this project, the Voyager, like the space, like the little space probe that they sent in space, and they added on it like to communicate with aliens. It was more like an artistic practice. They added like in the 70s like all kinds of like encrypted information on it, you know, about the earth, and they sent it to space, and they were just hoping that somebody or something will find it in space, you know, and we'll kind of get a full view of what what our world is.
Yeah,
I feel like you're kind of facing a similar problem, right? Because it's like it's also like so much to consider when you're, or like I think it's a long process, or it's like even a complicated process to consider what goes in there, because it's like, who do you want to represent? Like, is it like a personal history, or is it like how do you capture everything that happens, or how do you capture only a part, and what part you capture then? And these are just questions that come to my mind, and if I would look at a project like that, I feel like I would definitely ask these questions from the project.
The methods of our strategy, how to choose which way. This is like the start point of what to choose and in which way to choose, how we will
it's just something that comes to my mind, because
that is a
you know,
comment.
Also, another thing that I wanted to mention that is kind of connected, but I'm sure it's not necessarily, it's just connected, and I just saw this exhibition recently, and it's literally called Mine, and it's about like it's about like technology and labor and like
Danny's show.
Yeah, exactly.
I went to too. Yeah, I went to. I sent it to her. Yeah.
Yeah, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I have seen it. I have seen a little bit some pictures from the exhibition.
Yeah, it's just something that I thought that it was funny. It's like a funny coincidence, because actually not a lot of, I don't think that not a lot of artists talk about that. And I think, he's actually one of the artists that has been looking into like mining and, you know, like cryptocurrencies and for a long time. So I don't know, that was something that came into my mind. But yeah. but yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think there's so much to consider, you know, like how, like the starting point and how you add up on that. It's like, yeah, it's a lot of, it's a lot to consider for sure.
More, what is it picture about?
Uh,
More sent in the chat this picture.
Oh, so that
uh,
picture is what I was talking about the jet. I watched it yesterday about the video. So basically, they all jet, and how to make it and to kind of like separate them is to see the shape, so you can know some of them they're actually formed inside of the volcano. Some of them they formed in the volcano, but with water coming to the middle of the mountain. Some of them like what go further inside of the river, so they are more round. And some of them are kind of like in the river, then the river dried, and also there was in desert, so they kind of have another shape. They are kind of round, but also kind of like sharp. So
huh.
that's what I was talking about. Like from the different forms, you can really see what exactly this mineral went through. So I think we are talking about right now is to treat this special stone or either a, like abstractive or like actual stone kind of put on the pedestal like a precious stone. We are looking into it very closely and then trying to figure out what this went through. I think that's kind of like in the archaeology way to trying to figure things out. Like uh,
Mm,
I think during this process we could put the more like the political and sociologic events around it to make it more interesting or
mm-hmm,
like make it more like become to a force to shape it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So that's what I was talk about earlier. We were kind of on the agreement to talk about like more focused on the rock itself and
mm-hmm,
kind of put all these things we're really trying to talk about kind of behind it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I like that idea. I think it's interesting to bring this to the forefront and then have like all the other kind of issues around it. It it also changes the perspective a little bit. Normally, it's the other way around. We talk about the social political stuff, and then we actually use material in as a, yeah, as a background or as a, and I think it's interesting to kind of change that perspective. But how would you imagine, I guess, um, adding this information around it? You said a timeline at one point, but you mean
Yeah,
when you said that, did you imagine actually? I don't know. I was trying to imagine what you mean, but did you imagine actually like a drawing or like an image, or how?
I
Yeah,
think it's
how do you
more
imagine
like
it?
I think that for me to imagine the project would be like going from now to or from future to back to what happened, how this rock formed, like all the way
Mm,
back. So I think that's kind of a timeline. And
mm,
in my picture would be like just the stone kind of compose this multiple digital pictures or start to kind of form into abstractive mineral or rock. And on that
mm,
way, we kind of take that and then go back again, like the natural part, how that formed as a real rock. So there would be no timeline or drawing on the whole, like you cannot see it, but it's coming out from how we talk about it, what time,
mm,
and this is happened, and but go backwards. It's just more like a content through the voice or like the audio.
mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I think here we need to specify this, like what we, in which way we will choose the the pictures, what could represent something in a way that could be a part of this new mineral. Like if you said from now till the ancient times, as this as this organic animals. So which way we will collect this visual pictures, information, um, to represent this
But I
this
think you're talking about am I understanding this correctly? But I think you're kind of talking about in parallel about two different projects right now. No, in a way, because I think maybe please help me clarify this. But so Mo, you're saying like you would envision like an actual object, right? And it would have like the story. It would be kind of in the background, the story of the object of the rock and how it was formed, like its history. And
it
then,
could be visually differently represented, but the main idea, as I understand it, that
mm,
it will be like a new form of mineral that is
mm-hmm,
compressed in a different kind of visual pictures that is
mm-hmm,
forming our world, and it is forming from now till the ancient times, as I understand you more, right?
I
mm-hmm.
think it's the same idea. I don't think
Yeah.
it's
Okay,
two different ideas. Yeah, I think it's just,
okay.
yeah, I think we talking the same thing.
I think what I find different in how you're talking about it, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
I think Alessa, you're talking about how do we add these images and how do
Yeah,
we like
I'm
layer them,
about this
Hmm.
specific visual layers, how we will choose them, in which
right?
kind here should be kind of methodology, met,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah,
methodology.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, and Mo, what would you say to that? I guess what would be
Yeah, I
your
think
take on
that's
that?
similar with, I'm not talking about have an actual stone. I'm also talking about that object, like the compressed, like a photo compressed abstractive rock.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talk about like the process is reversed. I feel like she was talking about pic how to show how picture to kind of com compress to one stone and to every picture have a meaning around it. That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to talk about. Have this timeline in that way, just mimic the structure of the rock.
I see.
I think
I see.
what I was trying to talk about is kind of reverse this whole process. Like in the beginning, we saw this rock already, then we kind of defaulting it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of visual part you are
Yeah,
describing, but now I'm
I think
trying
we're talking about the same idea.
Yeah, yeah.
now.
Yeah, I'm just interested to see like what are like the even like the differences between, because I think it's really interesting to kind of establish that, like how do you see it, and yeah, and how do you both see it at the same time? It's because it's
I
also
just
very
feel
hard to
like
imagine. Yeah.
yeah, I just feel like if you show the process of like you use the picture to kind of compress to one, like
Yeah,
in the
I
end kind
understand,
of
but what kind of
process
picture?
this abstractive stone. I think in
Mm-hmm.
this process it's more like showing people, okay, I'm the maker, I'm making this. I think in another way what I was trying to talk about is like okay, this is the stone, then we default it almost like a research, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like you are a archaeologist. You kind of you found this stone, you're trying to look in, trying to figure out what is that and how
Mm-hmm.
that possible to relate it with the time we passed.
Right, right, right. Yeah. Yeah. I understand.
I misunderstood.
I mean, you misunderstood.
Yeah, I am. I didn't understand the sense of the.
Well, I think, I mean, I'm not. I think it's like when you are a geologist and you find a rock, you kind of you kind of try and trace it back. I think we're all talking about the same thing basically,
Yeah.
but I just think but I just think we need to, I think we're all basically talking about the same thing. You just have this rock, and as a geologist, as a scientist, you kind of look into like the history of the rock, like the story of the rock, right? And you kind of trace it back to like how it formed.
How that
and I
rock
guess
is formed.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
I think what you were talking about, okay, there's the picture, I'm gonna compress to become to a rock, digital rock. I think in this process, it's more like, oh, I'm an artist. I'm gonna show you how I'm making this thing. So I think it's different.
Sorry, it's late evening, maybe.
What?
I think
Here is late evening. Maybe I have done my part for the day, and now it's like
no,
okay. I
but
understand. Like you propose to see this like visual materials that could be forming our like digital rock, digital mineral. We will choose through the geologist perception. No? Okay.
but maybe I think it's also very hard to talk about something that doesn't exist. So I think it's hard to imagine, or like, yeah, to use, like, I think everyone's imagining the same thing, but I think it's a slightly different version, or everyone's focusing on different parts of the same thing. But I think technically we're all on the same page. It's just like, how do you get, I think the question is, how do you tell the story of the rock, and what,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think that's the most interesting, that's the biggest question, right? Like how, and I think this is something that you have to talk about basically. And I think it's something that you kind of have to like flesh out more, because that's the question, and that's the most important aspect of the
Yeah,
project.
I feel that's easier to figure out because as long as you have all this image or like a thing have the order, you can do like this order, or like you can do the reverse it.
Yeah, yeah. So you have different options here, of how you go about it. I think it's how you both how you do your research. First of all, I think that's something that you have to like come together to understand how you both work on this kind of research side, and then you kind of have to decide how to transmit that story, how to share that research.